All right, seems I'm live. So, for those who will be watching later, yay! I'm just testing a few things here. I have my phone here as well. This is my first time that I have, as you can see, a new microphone. I have a new camera as well. So I'm trying a few things, trying to get this to be a bit better. So I hope you guys will bear with me as I struggle through this. So I've also asked my dear friend Pastor Tino to come and also aid me in making this a little bit more professional, trying to set up the right angles and all that. We'll just move this down a little bit. All right. So yeah, let's get started. So I also try to just see if there will be chat showing. I sent from my cell phone. I see chats are showing. Great. So if anybody wants to join and they want to ask something in live chat or anything, you are more than welcome. So what are we dealing with today? The first and the last. Oh, this is awesome. This is really, 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 really awesome. So where do our journey start? So we start with Isaiah 41 verse 4. Many people, if they write on this passage, they say, but there's only 5 passages that mentions I am the first and I am the last. I don't agree. They will always cite from Isaiah 44 onward, but for some reason I don't know why they skip Isaiah 41 verse 4. So let me just read it for you. Who has performed and done this, calling the generations? So excuse me. Let me just read that again. Just try and there we go. Who has performed and done this, calling the generations from the beginning? I, the Lord, the first and with the last, I am He. So here's the first very important one. Now I must be honest that and with the last that confused me a bit. So I asked some help from Pastor Stierman that guided me a little bit on that one. But you can see, firstly, again, I am He. There's your I am statement. You go then further, and you will see the first. So that's the one that is beginning everything. If you remember when we did I am, I said that He's the uncaused cause, the unmoved mover. In other words, He's the one that moves things without being moved Himself. He causes everything to be. Now, if you read John 1, verse 3, I think that comes out actually very clearly, where it says, everything that had being was made by him. Nothing that came into being without Christ. So I'm paraphrasing, but you can go read the verse yourself. John 1, verse 3. Very, very clear. So being the first is to say that he's the one before anything was. The first in creation, the first in everything. He is the first. So then you go also down and you see verse 10 of Isaiah 41. And here you can see that all this is done with God's right hand. And there's numerous scriptures that speaks about Jesus being the right hand of God, sitting on the right hand of God. And there's many Old Testament allusions to the right hand of God. But just focus on the one section there. If I am He, if your I am statement that we showed that Jesus used for Himself twice, where He said, if you do not believe I am He, you will die in your sin. He also said, before Abraham was, I am. So you see that I am statement comes through a lot. Now let's go forward and we'll see Isaiah 44, verse 6. Thus says the Lord, the King of Israel. So here you have King and his Redeemer. You have Redeemer. So these are things I've already dealt with. You can go and listen to those sermons or those clips. The Lord of hosts. I am the first. I am the last. Besides me, there is no God. So here God makes it absolutely abundantly clear. You cannot call yourself the first and the last without calling yourself God. It's a title God gave to himself, being the first and the last. Distinguishes him from all the other gods, because he was before the other gods. He made the other gods. Again, this is one of the fundamental differences between Christianity and Mormonism, where Mormonism says Satan is the spirit brother of Christ. We say no, Christ created Satan. He was before Satan. Satan was made by Christ. Now, that can break your mind if you think about it, but maybe you should think about it a bit. So you see God, you see Redeemer, there is no God, but then you also go down to verse 8 of the same Isaiah 44, just 2 verses later, and you'll also find the rock. All the titles I have shown already is used for Jesus and does convey deity. But I want to focus on Isaiah 44, verse 6 to make sure you understand here. It's not just a title that anybody can have. Like King of Kings, Nebuchadnezzar was called King of Kings. Nobody else, except for God Himself and Jesus Christ, has ever been called the first and the last. That's significant. It wasn't used for anybody else. You can say, but David was called king, Joshua was referred to as redeemer, we were saved by Moses. But first and the last, only mentioned for God in the Old Testament and Christ in the New Testament. Never ever used for anybody else. And then we go to the next one, is Isaiah 48, 4 chapters later. Listen to me, O Jacob and Israel, whom I called. I am He. Again, where does God start? With the I am statement. I am He. I am the first and I am the last. But here it gets very interesting. I love Isaiah 48. Because listen to where he continues from here. Listen to where he goes. Now he goes and say in verse 13, my hand laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand spread out the heavens. When I call to them, they stand forth together. Now here it is absolutely amazing. Now we already dealt with John 1 verse 3. It said everything that came into being came through Christ. But here is something absolutely amazing. Go to Hebrews 1 verse 10. Now you can see it's God that's recorded as testifying about the Son. To the Son, he says, your throne, O God, that type of thing. But here, God Himself in Hebrews 1 verse 10 said that you laid the foundation. Your hands created this. And what does it say here? My hand laid the foundation. Isaiah 48, God speaking. And my right hand spread out the heavens. God in Hebrews testifies about the Son laying the foundation and the Son spreading out the heavens. That's absolutely amazing to me. Abundantly clear. But don't miss again the I am statement. Yes, I am very passionate about the I am statements. I absolutely love the I am statements. I wish I could find a clear indication of every I am statement of Jesus and how it relates to Old Testament. I am the door, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I have a few connections that I've been able to make, but I don't have all. I know there should be for every single I am statement, there is rich Old Testament text. But just as Paul, for some reason, he missed the Gentiles being included, I just can't see all the I am statement connections. So, okay, we have set the groundwork there. God is, I am, first and last. There's no God besides Him. Now let's go to the New Testament. John, Revelation 1, he meets Christ. He sees Him walking amongst the lampstands, and then he falls to the ground as if dead. Now, just a little bit of preaching point there. If you've ever had this thought, I'll get to Jesus and I want to ask Him about this and I want to ask Him about that. My friend, when you come before that holy Christ, you will have only one reaction, and that's the reaction of John. you will fall to your feet as if a person slain. This is John that was called the beloved. So do not think you will have any other reaction than to fall on your knees, fall flat on the ground when you see his awesome majesty on that day. But let's read it further. Let's read what it says. But he laid his right hand on me, saying, Fear not, I am the first, I am the last, and the living one. I died, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and I have the keys of death and Hades. Now, I alluded to Paul last time I did I am, with Jesus walking on the water, and he paused to them and said, Be not afraid, I am. Here he does it again. Fear not, I am the first and the last. So do not fear because of who I am. Do not fear because you're in my presence and this is who I am. I am God. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. But then you will see John 1 verse 4. In him was life. And of course, the very famous John 14 verse 6. I am the way, the truth, and the life. And you can also add there where Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. So the living one. Then we have Revelation 2 verse 8. And the angel of the church in Smyrna write, the words of the first and the last who died and came back to life. Revelation 22 verse 13. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. So here it makes it very clear on every every possible way of thinking about beginnings and end. The beginning of the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning of speech, Alpha and Omega. That's the first letter and the last letter of the Greek alphabet. The first and the last, the beginning and the end. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning, you see, you can see that, and then at the end, the one that was, the one that is, and the one to come. Jesus said himself, when he comes again, he was there before with Abraham. So Jesus himself testified about him being before his incarnation, of course, his incarnation, and then coming again. The one that was, the one that is, and the one that is to come. That is also terms used only for God throughout the Old Testament. So yeah, I think the case stands very strong. This is hopefully not too long. It's a bit shorter than the previous one. It's about 13 minutes more or less. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Yeah, hopefully the next time we will do this, it will be even better quality with the help of my brother that will come and help me to set it up a bit more professionally, and yeah, hopefully try and make it a bit nicer. Yeah, all we are doing here is try and convey the word of God in an educational manner. So let me just end with the gospel, my friend. Jesus is the beginning and the end. He was before the world began. He is able to deal with your sin. All of us have sinned. All of us have broken God's law. All of us. There's not a single person, even the person you can think of that's the nicest, most holy person you can think of, they are full of sin. But this Christ that can see even the darkest of thoughts, he has given his own life so that you can be free, so that you can be in his presence, so that you can fall before his feet and say, Holy, holy, holy. So, my friend, if you haven't made Jesus the Lord of your life, you have to see him as the I am. You have to see Jesus is God. Because he said, if you do not believe I am, you will die in your sin. I don't want you to die in your sin. So yeah, next week I will announce on the WhatsApp group, or I'll share with the link. But we will continue. After I've done the titles of God, there's a couple of more to just deal with. For example, Emmanuel and so forth. Titles of God in the Old Testament that's used for Jesus. So once I'm done with the titles, I'll maybe do one video addressing some common questions. So if you have any questions, please share it with this video and I'll get to them in a later video. Thank you.